From crown to clay, a journey through ancient Egypt. You open your eyes to a golden world. The sun spills across walls of polished alabaster. Palm leaves rustle outside silk-draped windows. Incense curls in the air, sweet with frankincense and myrrh. Servants kneel, priests chant, scribes await your words. For you are Pharaoh, chosen by the gods, beloved of Ra, the morning sun. When you speak, stone is carved. When you blink, thousands notice. You sit at the peak of a civilization that worships you as divine. But even gods must sleep, and in sleep, dreams wander. You wake up in a world where the sun's golden rays seep through delicate curtains, revealing patterns of ancient dreams on your palace walls. You're not just anyone. You are Pharaoh, the living embodiment of power and divinity in ancient Egypt. Your bed isn't merely a place to rest, it's a throne of opulence, where sheets of the finest linen wrap around you like clouds, whispering stories of your grandeur and legacy. Yet, with this magnificence comes a profound expectation, an invisible mantle of responsibility interwoven with every thread of your luxurious surroundings. As you rise and let your feet touch the cool marble floors, the weight of your unique role begins to settle in. Every step, every breath reminds you that being a pharaoh is more than just ruling a kingdom. It's an intricate dance, balancing between divine worship and earthly leadership. The voices of your advisors echo gently, mingling with the sounds of the awakening city beyond your grand balcony. This morning ritual serves not only as preparation for the day, but also as a vivid reminder of the privilege you're bestowed with and the intricate duties that accompany it. Ahead is a journey to explore what it truly means to wield such power, gracefully navigating the expectations of both gods and people. In the heart of ancient Egypt, a morning unfurls within a palace that is nothing short of a masterpiece. The first light of day penetrates the delicate linen curtains, illuminating a room steeped in splendor and gilded finery. As Pharaoh, waking is an ascent back into a realm where dreams and divine right blend seamlessly. Each morning commences in a world resplendent with golden glamour, where even the air seems heavy with the essence of opulence, and history whispers from every ornate corner. The bed itself, more a throne than a resting place, offers a paradox of grandeur and solace. Exquisitely carved from rare and polished woods, it stands upon legs that echo the curves of the Nile, gleaming with inlays of lapis lazuli and carnelian. Sheets of the finest linen, softer than the morning mist, cocoon the sleeper in warmth that hints of luxury. At the foot of this elaborate puzzle of design, gold-encrusted footboards boast patterns of divine symbols, ensuring protection and power even in slumber. Rays of sunlight burst through, dancing across walls embedded with gold plates that flicker like a field of yellow flames. The ceiling arches high above, painted to mimic the nighttime sky, with jewels reflecting as stars, as if the cosmos themselves conspired to protect the sanctity of this chamber. Sculptures of Sekhmet and Horus stand sentinel, their eyes ever watching, glistening as guardians of peace, their astonishing craftsmanship blending art with spirituality. As a gentle breeze catches through the balcony's open doors, the scent of blooming lotus wafts in, mingling with the lingering rhythm of a city in the throes of awakening. The ambient sounds slip like whispered secrets through the corridor, hushed footsteps of servants, the distant crow of a rooster, and the low hum of life beyond the palace's tranquil interior. Every sensory detail colludes to remind the pharaoh of their role not just as ruler, but as custodian of all that lives beneath the sun. Stepping onto floors that are cooling marble, meticulously laid to reflect patterns of flowing water, the transition signifies a tactile shift from dreams to responsibilities. This is a stark contrast, no doubt, to the mud bricks and straw beds of common folk, whose worlds begin differently. Yet, for Pharaoh, the very act of waking is laden with intention, each choice, each breath, more vital than the next. Before the morning sustenance, attendants glide into the room, their linen robes ghost-like in silence, their devotion palpable. Their presence is a temporal reminder of the unbroken lineage of servitude and duty, each one a thread in the tapestry of kingdom life. They bring with them alabaster jars filled with perfumed oils and fragrant unguents, shimmering in the light, a testament to the intricate ritual of grooming that awaits. As these sacred rituals unfold, the senses come alive with the touch of cool oils and the heady scent of myrrh, a dance of preparation for the day's endeavors. The meticulous ceremony is a joyful concentration, an offering in itself, transforming the pharaoh from mortal to near deity, ready to wield power gently yet authoritatively. In these moments, time elongates, a reminder that even the divine must prepare meticulously for the weight they carry. Draped in a mantle of pure white linen, the pharaoh's silhouette is silhouetted against the early sun, a human embodiment of Ray's light, encapsulating the divine harmony between earth and the celestial. Around the neck, jewels glint, emeralds, amethysts, turquoise, each stone a symbol of protection, prosperity, unity. These adornments are not mere decoration, but artifacts of identity and cosmic balance. As the palace awakens, so too does the pharaoh's mind, knitted with a stream of considerations, landing upon the responsibilities that reign alongside the privilege. To rule is to navigate the human heart with fairness, shaping the future while honoring the past. This juxtaposition of privilege and duty is layered as richly as the garments worn. It is both the burden and the blessing of those born to monarchy. Yet, unlike any other, this perspective is not wholly unattainable. Citizens who gather daily beneath the sweeping arches of the temple bring with them stories as rich as any art crafted in the palace workshops. The streets tell tales of frantic passion, relentless ambition, and hopeful beginnings. While the privilege of a throne is clear, the simplicity outside these walls carries its own form of nobility and fortitude, offering a different kind of wealth. As the morning progresses, shadows morph into tales of future decisions, and the past's echoes reverberate in quiet reflection. The privilege of waking amidst such splendor carries with it an inherent understanding of the responsibilities born, an enduring rhythm in a kingdom built on faith, prosperity, and wisdom. Every choice echoes through eternity, sculpting destinies. Gazing into the shimmering expanse beyond, as preparations for royal audiences and judgments punctuate the atmosphere, the present weaves seamlessly into future undertakings. The transition is present, like a pebble in a stream, hinting at the stories yet to unfold, where this life of majestic mornings harmonizes with responsibilities as steadfast as the palace itself. In the grandeur, there lies also a tale of stewardship, duty, and honor, a tale to unfurl with the rising sun. Imagine awakening in a brilliant palace where gilded walls shimmer like captured sunlight, each corner echoing the luxury stitched into the very essence of your divine status. Your very presence has the power to command not just subjects, but the natural forces of the world, all while resting beneath the staggering grandeur of the glittering Egyptian sky. Yet, as much as this royal life promises magnificence, it comes wrapped in invisible threads of expectation, quietly winding together honor with hefty duty. From golden thrones to richly carved symbols of the gods, every object whispers of domination and deity, reinforcing how your life is sewn into the fabric of existence. As Pharaoh, you're seen not just as a ruler, but as a living god, a deity manifested in human form, holding the keys to both earthly and celestial realms. This perception grants an unparalleled reverence, but chains it to a weighty mantle of power and responsibility. Your every decision, every gesture, must align with Mat, the sacred principle of balance and order that keeps the universe on its rightful course. With your rise, the drumbeat of expectations swells, echoing through the marble halls and extending into the steamy expanse of the Nile Valley. Every eye rests upon you, gazing not just for leadership, but seeking divine wisdom in every action. You must navigate these waters with grace and insight, steering toward the prosperity and spiritual fulfillment of your lands. It's not merely about maintaining lavish rituals that showcase your status. It's a profound expectation that as you rise, all of Egypt rises with you. Consider the ceremonial duties that tether your divine identity to the mortal realm. The gods, shown through enormous statues and intricate carvings, demand your constant attention. Festivals dedicated to Amun-Ra or Isis are not just exercises of splendor, but vital threads in the tapestry keeping everything in harmony. You interpret dreams, make offerings, and lead rituals designed to appease these powerful beings, acting as the essential intermediary that bridges the mortal and the divine. Success or failure in these rituals could sway the fates, altering the winds that blow across the kingdom or the floods that nurture the land. Each morning, as the sun spills over the horizon, expectations unfurl alongside the morning mist. They sit, not solely fixed on the celestial or the ceremonial, but extend firmly into Earth's tangible realms. Your dynasty is responsible for enormous feats of engineering and architecture. The pyramids, obelisks, and temples that litter the sacred landscape. These constructions aren't mere monuments, but are lasting legacies that must defy time and declare your place across eternity. Projects that span decades become the signature of your divine tenure, entrusted to you to ensure the gods' favor and your subjects' devotion. But even these stone giants pale compared to the true test of divine rule, maintaining Mat in governance and military matters. The weight of your gilded crown mirrors this balance. You must protect the people from the threats of foreign invasion and internal strife, preserving the hard-won borders of your sprawling empire. Every military campaign and diplomatic envoy sent to lands across the Mediterranean and beyond carries the gravity of divine sanction. Others might only see land and power, but you must calculate every step as a reflection of celestial intention. Victory is not just conquest, but a statement, a reiteration of the gods' favor and the continuation of your sacred duty. Yet it's the subtle, everyday acts of governance where the true strain often resides. Decisions on resources, alliances, and policies are filled with opportunities to manifest your divine wisdom. The balance doesn't rest solely on campaigns and ceremonies. It's in the grain stores, distributed not just for survival, but as proof of the good life which the divine withholds to only the virtuous and the wise. Your every choice, from tax laws to marriage alliances reverberates through your subjects' lives, echoing their faith in your divine mandate. As the sun sets and shadows slip across the bustling streets of Thebes or Memphis, you confront the layered complexities of your role, impacting thousands of lives spreads before you like an unrolled papyrus scroll, marked by centuries of history, each line reflecting your decisions. The whispers of destiny may have brought you to this incredible perch, but daily diligence and wisdom keep you there, requiring reflection, discernment, and an unwavering sense of cosmic justice. The challenges of being perceived as more than mortal, of holding such a revered position, peak beyond physical opulence into layers of existential contemplation. With each decision, you weld your aspirations to your empires, gleaning wisdom from the stars, while your feet sink into the rich Egyptian soil, ruling not through fear or coercion, but as a beacon of cosmic balance. Your legacy becomes etched in granite, spirit, and the unending tides of the Nile. And then there's the seamless turn the narrative takes toward the pressing domain of governance and military decisions. Just as the moon follows the sun, these responsibilities loom large, calling for a union of strategy and spirituality. Commanding state rituals and marshaling troops require the same kind of reverence, a testament to your living deity. Each decision serves not only your time, but generations, a continuation of stories whispered against temple walls and marked with the footprints of divine kingship. As this tale of ancient splendor and duty marches on, it's clear the balance of divine rule encompasses more than just power. It intertwines with the soul of existence. And though the journey continues beyond the opulent entrances of your golden palace, each step forward illuminates the path stretching back, a reflection of your profound weight, wisdom, and the enduring, unrealized potential that comes with standing at the summit of civilization, yet teetering on the edge of mortality. As the stars emerge above the Nile, casting their silent judgment, you are left to ponder. Is greatness measured by the monuments left behind, or by the unseen sacrifices etched in the hearts of those who served beneath your gaze? In the realm of ancient Egypt, where divine rule cloaked leaders in both reverence and responsibility, the expectations placed upon a pharaoh weighed as heavily as the crown itself. These expectations were not just a matter of prestige. They demanded a continuous cycle of governance and defense, orchestrating the daily symphony that kept the kingdom intact. To be pharaoh was to be both deity and shepherd. Each day began with the rising sun, casting light on the land of the Nile, and ended with its descent, leaving the solitary figure of the ruler to wonder what footprint their decisions would leave on the sands of time. Governance, in this divine capacity, transcended mere administration. Pharaohs executed their duties under the watchful gaze of their subjects, their actions seen as extensions of divine will. The rituals of governance were steeped in tradition and expectation. To organize the affairs of the state, the pharaoh would convene a council of advisors, each specializing in different aspects of governance, from agriculture to architecture. These gatherings were not mere discussions, but ritualistic events where the will of the gods was believed to manifest through the pharaoh's decisions. When decrees were made, they weren't just words etched in stone. They were considered the very voice of the cosmos, shaping Egypt's destiny. For instance, when a decree was passed to construct a new waterway, it wasn't just a practical decision to enhance trade or agriculture. It symbolized the pharaoh's commitment to nurturing the land and emphasizing their role as the intercessor between the earthly and the divine. The pharaoh's endorsement would have the irrigation channels snake through the fields, not solely bringing sustenance, but a reminder of the ruler's divine favor. Each stroke of pen, nay, stylus, was a testament to their ordained right to rule, a gesture of their regard for the people and acknowledgement of their profound responsibility. Military decisions, fraught with their own complexities, mirrored the deliberation of governance responsibilities, though they carried their particular burdens. Pharaohs stood ever ready, poised between the virtues of assertiveness and caution. They had to safeguard the kingdom's borders, protect their people from external threats, and occasionally expand their domain, all actions that had to resonate with both earthly consequences and celestial favor. Consider the commitment required in planning a campaign against a neighboring territory threatening Egypt's sacred borders. Such a decision necessitated an immense understanding of both military strategies and the divine signals believed to guide them. A pharaoh would work with generals to oversee meticulous preparations, ensuring everything from logistics to troop morale was attentively managed. As the ruler of Egypt, a pharaoh would incorporate sacred rituals into preparations, securing divine blessing before leading their forces into battle. Pyramidal structures of command and literal pyramids, illuminating successes and failures alike, served as eternal symbols of the pharaoh's decisions on war or diplomacy. As these matters pressed upon a pharaoh's mind, they also served to underscore the importance of balance, encouraging trust amongst the people, and maintaining their devotion was critical. Rulers needed to remain a steadfast anchor, regardless of whether their decisions brought celebration or scrutiny. Through myriad acts and decisions, big and small, they sculpted a narrative that reinforced their divine image while simultaneously securing Egypt's prosperity. Temples erected in their names bore not just their likeness, but also memorialized their doctrines and feats, telling tales of leaders who once stood over the land. Likewise, they reformulated and reiterated laws to benefit future generations, praising the gods with their piety and earning the people's fervor continually. When evening swallowed the horizon, the pharaoh was left with time to reflect, with only the whispers of the Nile and the moonlight as companions. They pondered the day's earlier events and pondered the enormity of their role. Leadership had an innate solitude, an isolated contemplation that interpreted power, responsibility, and an undying legacy. They wondered what stories their monuments would recount over the centuries. Encased in solitude under the celestial expanse, pharaohs gauged the extent of their influence. Were they ensuring equilibrium, remained between prosperity and poverty, peace and war, life and divine duty? The reflections were ephemeral, meant to prepare them for the demands that would amass with the next dawn. They strove for a legacy, knowing fully that each act undertaken was not etched merely in stone, but in hearts and histories. Thus, the governance and military decisions that defined a pharaoh's life epitomized a profound cycle of judgment and introspection. Through complex rituals and monumental choices, a pharaoh embodied divine will within earthly mandates. While aware of short-lived glory, they aspired to contribute a legacy that, like the sun touching the horizon with its radiant glow, would endure and illuminate time. However long the shadow cast by such solitary musings under the moonlit sky over the Nile, as the last streaks of sun dipped below the horizon, the day's demands slowly ebbed away, leaving the pharaoh to solitude beside the eternal Nile. Earlier, the seat of power had been a whirlwind, a chain of advisors and generals, each with a voice that became sharper amidst oak hallways and stone chambers. Decisions tethered to empire, blood, and honor weighed heavily, and every decree carried ripples that reached far beyond the palace walls. But now, with the cool night air surrounding you and the gentle whisper of the river filling the silence, there was a rare moment to breathe and reflect. The moon hung high and bright above, a silver sentinel watching over Pharaoh's kingdom. Its light danced soulful patterns on the river, where the current flowed with an everlasting persistence, much like the unyielding necessity of leadership itself. The duties of guiding a nation, many often reduced to fate and prophecy, were his alone. Why should the heavy cloak of expectations possess such silence in the night, when the day had deafened senses with noise and urgency? The Nile, with its history and mystery, mirrored ancient echoes of rulers past, each leaving a footprint in time, a memory in the silt. The pharaoh saw these reflections as stark reminders, illuminating the dual nature of power, its allure and its isolation. In this solitude, with only the stars as witnesses, thoughts of legacy became more tangible. As leader, his choices would inscribe an indelible mark on the ages. Did he once envy those who cast no shadow in annals, those who could walk unknown through history without the towering weight of expectation pressing down? Standing by the river, sand beneath, feet worn by time, he considered how history judged his predecessors. Some were remembered for their victories, others for monumental acts of faith or cunning diplomacy. The pharaoh learned to see their endeavors as strained attempts to wrest meaning from mortal span. Neither treasure nor temple could entirely capture the essence of eternity. In the moon's glow, the difference between a ruler and a mere mortal shrank to a fragile whisper on the wind. Here, simplicity prevailed, and the majesty of earthly life felt transient yet profound. The pharaoh turned inward, wondering if each twist and turn in governance, in every treaty or war, every cultural flourish or architectural venture created a deeper understanding or widened the chasm between past and present. The ethereal hum of the night seemed to validate his fears. It was both a companion and a challenge, illustrating how the future relied on more than mere existence. It hinged on conscientious acts, wisdom, and the intimate, unceasing dialogue with a history bound together by fragile threads. Waves of realization splashed softly, tangible and elusive in equal measure. Alongside empathy and discernment, the pharaoh navigated a world that shifted under political plateaus and moral tectonics, some seen, some foreshadowed only in dreams. In those dreams, the crescendos of 1,000 silent thoughts converged, and in that timeless space, the past and future, strength and fragility, brilliance and fading echoes were one. Feel the chill of the night's breeze wrapping around you, harmonizing unfortunate realities offset by the beauty of hope. It is an ache, a reminder of the days to come and the power you wield, power that can forge or ruin lives. You envision the delicate balance you must maintain. One wrong step doubles back on itself as spirals dizzy over spirals, unfurling quietly, silently, multiplying into chaos, unseen until too late. Here, beneath the drift of clouds awash in numinous silver, your decisions take shape, clear and hazy, gentle yet unyielding, like the river's unending journey toward an infinite ocean. You understand now that legacy is not just mortar and stone or the outlines traced onto papyrus scrolls for the world beyond. It lives in the rumbling growl of perspective, in time transformed into fine grains of reality, conflict resolved with grace, ecosystems nurtured with care, prosperity earned honestly. These are the rarer bricks you lay down with authenticity. A world filtered through your integrity might just outlast you. You grasp at threads of destiny, of choice, of a life stretching beyond immediate capture. There is solitude here, vast and encompassing, and with it comes the clarity that history's echoes treat deeds with impartiality. You contemplate the coming dawn, the decisions that wait, the children of your present thoughts, drawn from deep wells where fortitude and wisdom blend with resilience and insight. And then you notice the appearance of light softening your outline, delineating your shape with the first warmth of morning. The world rearranges itself around your silhouette, turning the night's impressions into the foundation of future visions. Leaders rise and fall, and centuries will carry forward against the tide. But your path, this singular path, seeks out the fragile remnants of hope meant for all of humanity's embrace. The moon lingers above, a celestial overseer, promising comfort in eternity. It tethers your existence to transformation, coupling impurity with promise. You listen to the river, to the night, to the whispers rising within, and feel your legacy taking shape beneath the pressure of possible collapse. Perhaps it will inscribe truths newly forged, unmeasured, and unconstrained. And onward you go, toward a brightening horizon, as the Nile's depths breathe out a new morning and another chance. Possibility is anchored within you, brushing your deeds into immortality like sanded pearls. Solitude remains your companion, not as a burden, but as a vessel for reflection and quiet inspiration, a balance always guiding you forward, ever dwelling in memory and promise alike. When you wake as Pharaoh, you embrace the splendor and the impossible expectations that accompany divine status, and as each day begins, you are reminded the choices you make shape not just an empire, but the very memory of civilization. While power may rest on golden thrones, it is also anchored in humility and service. Even young minds may come to see that true leadership lies in the balance of ambition, wisdom, and care. Lessons whispered across the sands of time. The life of a temple priest. The sun rises gently over the temple, casting soft beams of light through the ancient stone columns and illuminating the timeless grandeur of this sacred sanctuary. The air is cool and hushed, with only the faint chirping of birds and the soft rustling of trees beyond the walls. The priest moves quietly along the smooth, worn floors, his footsteps echoing softly in the stillness of dawn. Draped in ceremonial robes, he carries with him a sense of both calm purpose and quiet anticipation. This sacred space, filled with the sweet scent of incense and adorned with intricate carvings depicting deities and mythic tales, is more than a place of worship. It is a realm suspended between the earthly and the divine. Each day begins with a series of rituals meticulously observed: the lighting of lamps, the offering of fragrant flowers and sacred herbs, the resonant chanting of prayers that seem to bridge the distance between mortal and immortal. Every gesture, every word, is part of a precise and ancient choreography, demanding not only unwavering devotion, but also an intimate understanding of the traditions that have been passed down for generations. Yet beneath the surface of this serene and orderly routine lies a complex web of emotions and questions that accompany the priest's sacred duty. As he navigates the day's ceremonies and leads the faithful in their supplications, he wrestles with uncertainties hidden from the world outside the temple walls. There are moments of wonder when the early morning light seems to dance upon the altar, or when a whispered prayer resonates so deeply it feels like the voice of the divine itself. But there are also moments of doubt, when the priest wonders whether his faith and interpretations are truly genuine, or if they are merely roles to be performed out of habit or obligation. These moments of introspection often arise unexpectedly, woven into the quiet rhythm of his day. The flickering of a flame, the gentle swirl of incense smoke, the subtle rustling of leaves in the temple courtyard. Such simple, fleeting signs can awaken thoughts that linger long after the rituals have ended. Does his devotion come from a place of pure belief, or is it shaped by centuries of tradition and expectation? Are the gods truly listening, or is the act of worship itself the point, a testament to human longing and the search for meaning? Let us dive into the life of a temple priest, exploring the profound interplay between the external demands of ritual and the internal landscape of contemplation and doubt. We witness how each day's ceremonies become a canvas on which he paints not just the divine order, but also his own quiet struggles and fleeting moments of clarity. It is a life lived in service to something greater than oneself, yet always shadowed by the eternal questions that echo in every human heart. Sweet water pools in small stone basins, reflecting the flicker of dawn's light and enhancing the reverence that saturates this space. Each step you take is measured, each movement a silent testament to your devotion and the quiet weight of your role. As you walk through the sacred halls, frescoes depicting gods and the stories of old greet your gaze. Their vibrant images stand as eternal reminders of the cycle of duty and devotion that shapes your every breath. You arrive at the chamber where the sacred statues reside, and here the air grows heavy with an almost palpable presence. This is the heart of the temple's spirituality, the place where you feel the thin veil between the mortal and the divine parting ever so slightly. With careful hands, you prepare a mixture of natron and sweet water, kneading them into a paste. Natron, the ancient purifier gifted by the earth, is more than a mere cleaning agent. It carries the weight of centuries of tradition, a symbol of the removal of both physical and spiritual impurities. You work with exacting care, applying the paste to the statues in motions that are both deliberate and reverent. Each stroke is a prayer in itself, an unspoken hymn of devotion. Your voice joins this silent offering as you begin to speak the ancient hymns, your chants a steady crescendo that fills the chamber. These words, echoing across centuries, are your link to the gods whose likenesses stand before you, a melodic testament to the union of human yearning and divine grace. The rituals demand precision, but there is also an art to your devotion, a blending of heart and spirit that transcends rote practice. With each purification, you strengthen the bond between the present and the eternal, embodying your role as the intermediary between the sacred and the worldly. To many, these actions are mere obligations, part of a priest's daily routine. But for you, they are a covenant renewed each day, an affirmation of your faith and your calling. Beyond the temple walls, the world stirs with its own quiet rhythm. Birds flit in intricate patterns across the sky, their flight weaving messages into the morning air, messages only discernible to those who know how to read them. You watch them closely, drawing meaning from the subtle dance of their wings, each movement a possible omen of what is to come. The curl of temple smoke is also subject to your scrutiny. Its twists and dispersal carry hints of the future, shaping how you guide those who come seeking answers. The weight of these interpretations rests heavily upon your shoulders. Missteps in reading the signs could mislead the community. Faith misplaced or lost, you remain vigilant, aware that while you cannot control every outcome, the responsibility to provide guidance is yours alone. Throughout the ages, priests have served as navigators of the unseen, trusted interpreters of the divine's subtle whispers. In this role, you continue that lineage, forging a bridge between what is known and what lies beyond. Yet your life is not solely defined by the visible rites and rituals. Between the public moments of reverence lies an expanse of introspection, a quiet, often lonely space where you wrestle with the questions that accompany faith. In these silent corridors of thought, you balance personal belief against the weight of tradition. You wonder if every interpretation is true, if every action you take is guided by genuine devotion, or if it is simply the performance of an ancient script. Such doubts are never voiced aloud. The world beyond these walls sees only the serene figure of the priest, the keeper of sacred order. They do not glimpse the flickers of uncertainty that sometimes haunt your quietest moments, nor the loneliness that can seep in amidst the endless repetition of sacred duties. You cling to the rituals, trusting in their ancient wisdom to ground you, to hold you steady when your own convictions waver. The expectations placed upon your shoulders are immense, yet you walk this path with steadfast resolve. Each day offers glimpses of clarity, moments when faith burns bright enough to dispel every doubt. And then, just as swiftly, the questions return. Is your path truly one of unwavering faith? Or do the whispers of what if speak a deeper truth? Does your soul truly find its fulfillment in these duties? Or is there something beyond the sacred walls calling softly, insistently? The stories and legends of the past never leave you. They are a constant presence, shaping your every thought and action. You are both a guardian of tradition and a seeker of answers, forever questioning, even as you uphold the rites. Could you ever step beyond the prescribed path if your heart demanded it? Might there be truths to discover beyond the flickering candlelight and curling incense smoke? As this section of your contemplative journey draws to a close, you turn your thoughts to what lies ahead. Your life as a temple priest is one of profound commitment, yet the tension between public devotion and private doubt is never far away. These internal conflicts, invisible to those who revere you, remain yours alone to navigate. Ahead awaits a deeper exploration of how your personal desires and questions might find their place within the carefully prescribed roles of your calling. In the heart of the temple, beneath the weight of ancient carvings and the watchful gaze of the divine, you walk the fine line between faith and wonder, ever seeking the quiet truth that lies just beyond each whispered prayer. As you transition from the quiet of the dawn rituals, you step fully into your role as the intermediary, moving through the ancient temple with careful purpose. Each step across these hallowed corridors is measured, each motion echoing centuries of tradition. The air is heavy with reverence, yet beneath its hushed stillness lies the quiet tension that pulses within your own heart. You move with the grace and certainty expected of you, yet deep within, questions whisper, unbidden but insistent. Your day begins before the sun's first rays grace the horizon. a time when silence reigns and the weight of expectation is most tangible. The temple's stone pillars, carved with lotus motifs that speak of creation and rebirth, reach upward like silent witnesses to your devotion. They stand as guardians of the sacred, and as you pass beneath them, their silent grandeur reminds you of the immensity of your role. You walk the cold stone floors with steady steps, each footfall echoing against the ancient walls. The fragrance of cedar incense wraps around you, thick and heady, a reminder of the generations who have performed these same acts of devotion. What is the true essence of your faith? Does it hold in those fragile moments of stillness, or does it waver under the weight of your own doubts? From the first ringing of the morning bell to the final chant of evening, each moment is accounted for, each movement woven into the tapestry of your daily service. Outsiders see only the beauty of the rites you perform, the blessings, the prayers, the incense, rising like whispered offerings to the heavens. But you know that the true nature of your work lies deeper. It is a dance between sacred duty and the quiet yearnings of your own soul. You are not merely a keeper of rituals, you are a conduit, balancing the ethereal and the tangible with every breath you take. And in that delicate balance, you sometimes feel the gap between who you are and what is expected of you, yawning wide and uncertain. As the morning light filters through the temple's ornate windows, you watch the interplay of shadows and light dance across the floor. In that soft glow, you share teachings with the young acolytes who look to you for guidance. Their eager faces bring memories of your own youthful certainty, of the fervor that once burned untempered in your own chest. There is a deep, unspoken bond between you and these acolytes, yet their bright questions stir something restless within you. Their curiosity is a privilege of youth, a freedom you remember well. Now, you must answer their questions with the patience and wisdom expected of your station, even as you wonder if your own quiet doubts mirror theirs. Each lesson you offer them becomes a moment of quiet reflection for yourself. Their questions, so direct and honest, echo in your own thoughts. Is faith a flame that burns steadily within you, or is it a reaction to the weight of expectation? As you teach them, you find yourself contemplating the divine figures you serve each day. Do they truly see you? Do they hear your thoughts as they emerge in the silent hours between rituals? These questions, swirling like incense smoke, are ever present, impossible to banish completely, yet equally impossible to resolve. The temple's grandeur surrounds you. Statues of benevolent figures stand watchful in every alcove, stories of valor and devotion etched into every wall. This beauty is a testament to generations of faith, but it offers no answers. You cannot help but wonder if you falter. Will the gods turn their gaze away, or do they understand the frailty of the human soul? Will they forgive your wavering, or is their judgment as unyielding as the stone beneath your feet? Through every hour of the day, you continue your work, the inner dialogue growing louder in the quiet spaces between chants and offerings. These private battles are fought in silence, a solitary war behind the calm mask you wear. Even as you stand before the sacred flame, offering prayers and incense to the gods, you question if your words truly bridge the gap between mortal and divine, or if they dissolve into the air unheard. As the sun begins its slow descent, long shadows stretch across the temple's floors, the day's rituals nearing their end. But within you, the tide of thought continues to ebb and flow. In the brief moments of dusk, when the world softens and the night encroaches, there are fleeting instants of clarity, gentle reminders that perhaps faith's greatest strength lies in the embrace of doubt itself. The temple is your sanctuary, yet it is also a crucible where questions of purpose and the burden of divine duty are forged in the quiet hours of reflection. Even as moonlight bathes the ancient stone in silver, you feel the magnitude of your role stretching beyond the temple walls. Ahead lies the endless horizon of faith, where the demands of gods and mortals meet. It is there, in that silent, sacred space, that your journey continues, forever poised between devotion and the endless whisper of what lies beyond. Each morning, as the first rays of sunlight pierce the horizon, the priest begins their daily rites, a rhythmic dance of incense, chants, and silent devotion that links the mortal realm to the divine. These rituals, more than mere observances, establish the tempo of life within the temple's sacred halls. Within this perfumed haze and the echo of sacred hymns, the priest moves with purpose, yet harbors an inner turmoil, a delicate interplay where faith and doubt intertwine. Omens once read with unwavering certainty now flicker like half-remembered dreams, challenging the steadfastness of belief and stirring a quiet unrest beneath the priest's measured demeanor. In the soft glow of dawn, the priest contemplates the weight of each sign, each subtle flicker of the sacred flame. Once, these omens were lanterns illuminating a singular path. Now they feel like mirrors reflecting the priest's own uncertainties. The boundary between divine message and personal doubt becomes increasingly porous. Sometimes, these moments of insight renew the priest's conviction. Other times, they unearth questions that burrow deep, urging a quiet, often uncomfortable, reevaluation of faith. Beyond this dance of belief and doubt lies another realm of conflict, the tension between sacred duty and the lure of personal longing. Though their days are woven from the threads of devotion, the priest's thoughts occasionally drift beyond the temple's cloistered walls. Amidst the swirling incense and flickering candles, visions of a life unbound by ancient oaths stir, hints of freedom, vibrant and yet shadowed by the weight of divine commitment. These fleeting desires, though swiftly banished, reveal the priest's vulnerability, a yearning for a life beyond the sacred scripts, a yearning that must remain hidden beneath the stoic calm of ritual. The priest's voice, resonant and clear, guiding the faithful through a potent ritual, a conduit of cosmic energy, a guardian of secrets older than memory. Their chants unlock ancient mysteries, weaving a tapestry of power and devotion within the temple's stone embrace. Yet, with this unique access to the divine comes an unspoken burden, a solemn vow to guard these mysteries, to bear the weight of truths that must never be revealed. It is a calling that both elevates and isolates, surrounding the priest with reverence that is as much a barrier as it is an honor. Within this sanctuary of whispered prayers and marble floors, the priest moves among their peers, fellow servants of the divine, yet each distant in their own solitude. Younger acolytes, wide-eyed and earnest, seek counsel and guidance, unaware that each question they pose mirrors the priest's own unvoiced doubts. Moments of teaching become moments of introspection, reflections of a faith once fiery, now tempered by years of silent questioning. The priest is both mentor and mystery, a figure of veneration and a soul adrift in the quiet spaces between rituals. These quiet spaces become crucibles of introspection. Amidst the echoing chants and flickering candles, the priest grapples with a question that cuts to the heart of their existence. What if the rites fail? What if the gods, those distant and inscrutable watchers, turn their gaze elsewhere? The weight of cosmic responsibility presses down, an ever-present reminder that each prayer and offering carries the hopes of more than just the priest. It is a thread woven into the vast tapestry of the universe, holding the delicate balance between mortal devotion and divine will. As night falls, the temple transforms beneath the silvery light of the moon. Shadows stretch and shift across the stone floors, and in these quiet hours, the priest finds a fleeting clarity. Beneath the endless canopy of stars, the priest whispers the names of gods into the cool night, a fragile prayer, a moment of connection that transcends the confines of duty. Here, amidst the ancient stones and the silent embrace of the cosmos, the priest discovers a tender truth, that perhaps faith is not the absence of doubt, but the strength to stand in its presence. The temple's textures, austere yet beautiful, mirror the priest's own internal landscape. Cool stone beneath bare feet, the rough weave of ancient tapestries, the sweet tang of incense mingling with the crisp night air. Each sensory note becomes part of the priest's journey, an ever-present reminder that sacred duty is both anchor and shackle. They walk the fine line between cosmic responsibility and personal longing, ever aware of the consequences of faltering, yet unwilling to abandon the silent questions that give shape to their faith. In these final reflections, the priest's role emerges as a paradox, exalted yet vulnerable, revered yet isolated. This sacred balance between earthly desire and celestial calling, between duty and doubt, becomes the crucible of the priest's existence. Beneath the grand vault of night, they stand as both anchor and question, their whispered prayers echoing in the vast silence, a reminder that even those who hold power over the mysteries of the cosmos are not immune to the quiet ache of uncertainty. The image of the priest standing alone beneath the stars, their silhouette a solitary figure poised between earth and sky, speaks to a universal human truth. Like the priest, each of us must navigate the spaces where our dreams meet the demands of our obligations. We, too, face the tension between what we owe to others and what we long for ourselves. In the stillness of the night, the priest's whispered invocations become a mirror for our own unspoken hopes and hidden fears, a testament to the quiet resilience of those who carry the weight of devotion and doubt in equal measure. This moment of cosmic contemplation also invites us to reflect on the nature of faith itself, not merely as a certainty in divine order, but as the courage to embrace uncertainty. The priest's doubt does not negate their faith, rather it refines it, forging a belief that is not blind, but searching, alive with questions. In our own lives, we may find that the questions we fear the most are the very ones that lead us deeper into the heart of what we hold sacred. The priest's journey, then, becomes a call to honor our own uncertainties, to recognize that faith need not be the absence of doubt, but the willingness to walk alongside it. The priest's solitude, heavy with cosmic responsibility, also illuminates the price of wisdom. The knowledge they hold sets them apart, yet it also binds them in ways unseen by the world beyond the temple walls. This is a lesson we can carry into our own lives, that true understanding often comes with a measure of loneliness. When we strive to live with integrity, to honor the mysteries that call us beyond our comfort zones. We may find ourselves set apart, our path lit by the flickering light of our own conscience. In these moments, we can draw strength from the priest's example, finding grace in the quiet spaces where doubt and faith converge. The priest's nightly vigil beneath the starlit sky speaks to a profound aspect of our shared humanity, the quest to find meaning in the vastness of existence. As the priest whispers the names of the gods into the night, they remind us that our own lives, too, are threads woven into the tapestry of the cosmos. In the interplay of shadow and starlight, we glimpse the beauty of a life lived in service of something greater than ourselves. And in the priest's unwavering dedication, despite the weight of doubt, despite the lure of personal freedom, we find an echo of our own longing to stand for something enduring, to leave behind a testament of devotion and wonder in a world that forever teeters between the sacred and the unknown. Tonight, we step into a world long past, where the great rivers ran deep with the tides of life and death, and the land was ruled by the gods. It's a time of towering stone temples, labyrinthine streets, and lives that were bound by the weight of duty, tradition, and the unseen forces of fate. Forget the grand monuments and the glint of royal gold. What life really looked like in ancient Egypt was far more humble and far more harsh than the polished stories you may have heard. In this age of endless sun and shifting sands, where survival was as much a matter of divine favor as it was a test of endurance, every day could bring a new trial. The Nile might flood, or the sun might scorch the earth until crops withered. There were priests who spoke to the gods, but it was the scribes who spoke for humanity, the ones who captured the whispers of life in ink, ensuring that the words of kings, the deeds of gods, and the everyday rhythms of society were never forgotten. To be a scribe in this world was to hold the future in your hands and to be bound by the past. Before we journey into this ancient world, go ahead and like the video, subscribe if the mysteries of Egypt stir your soul, and let me know where you're tuning in from and what time it is. It is always exciting to see how far this story reaches across the globe. Now, imagine stepping into a time when your future wasn't written in books, but on papyrus, your legacy carried in the careful strokes of a reed pen. Tonight, you're going to experience the world through the eyes of a scribe in ancient Egypt, where life was not just a series of days, but a tapestry of stories, fates, and dreams, all written down for eternity. Imagine yourself in a bustling city, where the air is filled with the sounds of early morning activity, and the glow of the rising sun casts long shadows on stone streets. You're not royalty or a warrior, but your role is vital. With each careful stroke of your reed pen, you capture tales that will echo through time. The world around you is one of constant chatter, officials plotting the next move for their kingdom, and merchants negotiating prices, while you quietly record it all. You do not wear armor or command armies, but your ink holds a different kind of power, one that outlasts blades and banners alike. From the first time your fingers closed around a reed pen, you understood this was more than a job. It was a calling. Every day brings challenges, like aching hands from hours of meticulous writing and pressure to get every name, every date, every gesture exactly right. Yet through those challenges is a quiet kind of joy, a stillness amid the noise, the steady heartbeat of creation. You are a thread in a great weaving of memory, And though your name may not be remembered, the words you pen may live forever. You wake up at dawn, greeted by the faint echoes of the city stirring to life. Birds chirp their morning songs while the air is still crisp and cool. You rise, stretching slightly, aware of the day's demanding tasks awaiting you. In the world you've entered, writing is not just a skill, it's a revered art. You are a scribe, one of the few trained from a young age to master this delicate craft. Not of noble birth, yet you sit in the heart of power and history, carving paths with every stroke of the reed pen. Others build with stone or rule with law. You build with language, and your work forms the bones of tomorrow's memory. As you make your way to the chamber that serves as your workshop, the remnants of night still cling to its stone walls. A small flame dances in the oil lamp, casting warm, amber shadows. You run your fingers over the surface of your tools, your pens, your inkwell, your blades, for trimming parchment, as though greeting old companions. The familiar scent of papyrus and resinous ink greets you, a blend of earth and fire that has become part of your identity. You settle into your seat, your back straight, your breath steady, and then, like a ritual, the first words begin to flow. Decrees from the court, tithes collected in grain, a merchant's request for arbitration. Scritch scratch, the pen moves, the lines form slowly, deliberately. You know that each mark you make will stand in place of voices that will someday fall silent. The world beyond your chamber thrums with activity. You hear muffled voices, the clatter of sandals on stone, the rustle of scrolls being passed between hands. Messengers and ministers move in and out, brushing close to power, never quite touching it. But you, your words, define that power. The general's tone, the queen's hesitation. These are details only you notice and quietly weave into the narrative. You stand in the space between speech and permanence. You listen more than you speak, and when you write, you choose what lasts. As the day fades into evening, your duties shift. The world outside dims, and a softer, quieter world takes its place. Now the myths emerge. Stories of gods who drank stars and men who defied fate. You copy them with reverence, each line a thread connecting you to those long gone. Your chamber becomes a sanctuary where the past breathes through your hands. This is when you feel closest to the eternal, the flickering light, the hush of night, the quiet scratch of pen on page. You are no longer just recording life. You are stitching together soul and symbol. You may never see the future these words reach, but you feel the weight of their journey. And in that weight, you find your purpose. For though you live in shadows, your legacy is made of light. The hours pass almost unnoticed as you sit hunched in the flickering light, the flame slowly dimming to a quiet glow, signaling the end of another long day. You let your thoughts accumulate, grow, and settle within you, understanding that not all labor involves the hand. Some of it requires only the mind to align with the heart. Despite the constant demands, the tolls exacted by hours spent hunched over scrolls, the ceaseless pressure to capture every nuance of daily life, there's a deep resilience in the purpose of your work. As your muscles ache and your hands cramp, you reflect on your journey, the countless steps from your childhood training to this relentless present unfold within your mind, each step a moment of growth. And though the passage of time leaves its mark in every calloused ridge and furrow of your fingers, the parchment right before you whispers tales of endurance, a testament to a commitment that outlives the discomfort of the present moment. Just as the night's calm comforts your weary body, the impact of your work cradles your soul. What transpires on those shadows of ink and line may eventually fade, but their essence endures, undulating through the ages, creating connection and sustaining culture. Tomorrow, once more, you will take up your pen and trace these eternal circles. But for now, the soul of the scribe rests, knowing that the legacy persists, a silent symphony echoing through time. Calloused hands and aching backs might not be the first images that come to mind when you think of those who shaped history, but these were the everyday trials faced by scribes like you. Often emerging from humble beginnings, you find yourself unusually close to the seats of power. Your work, though physically demanding, contributes significantly to historical and literary legacies that will transcend the boundaries of time. As you sit hunched over your writing board, each careful etching of your reed pen forms a bridge between civilizations. The demands of your craft, hands cracked and sore from gripping the reed, your back aching under the weight of long hours spent over rough papyrus, speak to the intense dedication required to fulfill such a role. Yet these hardships are woven into the gifts of immortality you offer to the written word. Your life as a scribe strikes a delicate balance. It is grueling and filled with sacrifices, yet deeply rewarding in its impact. You spend long hours working in cramped, dimly lit rooms, translating thoughts into permanent records. Despite your humble station, you find yourself at a unique confluence where literacy meets governance, shaping the stories that will persist even after the storytellers fade into obscurity. Now, squinting against the fading light of the day, fervently copying sacred texts or royal decrees that raise temples or command armies. Through the repetitive motion of writing, you participate in both labor and legacy building, creating more than just records. You craft the very fabric of history. Each scroll you complete, each tablet you inscribe, becomes a voice that will resonate through time. Crafting detailed accounts, documenting official matters, and preserving myths and stories, you weave the tapestry of history. The words you write become the voices of eras long past, speaking to responsibilities as varied as recording laws or recounting the deeds of gods. Picture the rows of scribes like yourself in ancient libraries or in the quiet of private studies, each one immersed in worlds of symbols and syntax. Your unassuming diligence shapes the backdrop of empires, influencing kings and emperors, arts and ideas, and the course of civilizations. There's satisfaction in your work, not merely from personal fulfillment, but from the knowledge that what you do matters at monumental levels. The ink you lay down on papyrus is more than just writing. It is an enduring testament to your commitment, an imprint of your insight. As you pause to look over rows of completed scrolls and tablets, your hands brush over them, feeling the weight of what you've accomplished. In these moments, you realize that your work, these symbols, these words, could sway the tides of realms. They preserve legal records, keep historical accounts, and ensure that the wisdom of the past remains alive for future generations. The gravity of your task presses against your shoulders. The accuracy of your transcriptions could influence everything from the governance of a kingdom to the shaping of cultural identity. You know your work is significant, and yet you do it quietly, often unrecognized. remaining in the shadows of history's great rulers. Such invaluable work does not go unnoticed. At times, you find yourself advising rulers, witnessing major historical events, and drafting documents that will shape the course of nations. You are an unassuming architect of continuity, a custodian of knowledge whose access to the learned and the powerful is unmatched. In the quiet solitude of your chamber, you are more than just a scribe. You are a mentor. You pass down the techniques you've perfected over the years, translating more than just words. You impart legacies, teaching younger scribes the sacred art of writing and recording. As you do, you realize that your role is one of monumental importance. Though you may not have been born into nobility, your work ensures you an indelible place in the history of civilization. Despite the challenges, the toll on your body, and the lack of luxury in your life, there's a deep sense of fulfillment. Your riches lie not in material wealth, but in the thoughtfulness of your craft. It is your written words that shape the progress of society, guiding kings and commoners alike toward understanding and order. The lives of those who hold the power may fade away, but your words, your legacy, will endure. While kings and generals might capture the public eye, it was often the scribe who preserved or portrayed their likenesses for eternity. The scribe's role is not always glorious, but it is foundational, as you capture the essence of an era, ensuring that the stories of the past are passed to future generations. Whether through clay, stone, or papyrus, the impressions left by scribes like you continue to speak, whispering their lessons across centuries. These written words serve as reminders of human constancy amidst the ever-changing tides of time. Your pen shapes kingdoms, records histories, and builds legacies, often in the quietest, most humble of spaces. And even when the ink fades and the papyrus crumbles, your words endure, forever etched into the fabric of civilization. You weave together personal sacrifice and institutional necessity, knowing that as a scribe, your role isn't just to chronicle events. You are entrusted with preserving the wisdom of the ages, whether in the grandeur of royal palaces or the quiet solitude of your chamber. Your environment serves as a stoic companion to your solitude, an ally as you pen doctrines, philosophies, and stories into being. Every stroke of your reed pen seems to anticipate a greater tapestry of storytelling, where each word builds the foundation of history itself. The weight of your task becomes clearer. Your influence runs deeper than simply recording the mundane. Your writings, carved into stone or inked onto parchment, immortalize what might have quietly faded away. Tombstones weren't the only markers of human existence. Your ink, heavy upon parchment, etched into memory, provides a lasting, tangible testament to the past. The scribe's craft, you realize, is its own noble endeavor. Those who can decipher its intricacies are rewarded with access to a vast world of insights, narratives, and the stories of long-past civilizations. Through your quiet resilience and intricate craft, your influence echoes through time, offering us a window into a world that has long passed but remains vibrantly alive through your words. Through your dedication, you've ensured that the past remains accessible to all. Knowledge, conserved through your careful work, becomes a wellspring of insight that will guide future generations. You've explored how your unique position beside the levers of power shaped not only the events of your day, but the very course of history itself. Your proximity to rulers and influential figures allowed you to witness and even influence the world around you. The permanence of your documents, etched in ink and carved in stone, stands as a testament to the lasting power of the written word. Scribes like you ensured that no word of consequence was left unrecorded. You assembled artifacts that outlived both their creators and subjects, preserving not just facts, but the essence of a civilization. Today, these ancient records remain not only as windows into the past, but as echoes of an era where written words carried a weight that still reverberates across time. The world in which you lived was defined by a unique blend of insight, skill, and duty. You worked in quiet chambers filled with the faint scent of ink and parchment, each roll of a scroll reverberating with the weight of history. The scratch of your reed pen was the only sound breaking the stillness, and yet within each stroke lay an immense power, the power to capture what was only spoken, preserving it for eternity. Scribes didn't just transcribe information. They were the guardians of knowledge, tasked with ensuring the continuity of culture and wisdom. Your tasks ranged from the mundane to the monumental. One moment, you might record the daily transactions of grain trades and cattle counts. The next, you could be documenting a royal decree that might alter the course of nations. The ink you spilled didn't fade into oblivion. Instead, it became a custodian of history, marking memory and meaning onto fragile parchment. With every careful stroke, you turn whispered stories around a fire into immortal accounts, destined to be recited in song and study for generations to come. These tales, preserved through your skill, become the shared memories of civilizations, influencing art, philosophy, and governance for centuries. Your work is not just a recording of events, it is the preservation of culture itself. To be a scribe is to master not only the language, but also the delicate balance between diplomacy, politics, and poetic artistry. You are both historian and linguist, and at times you invent new terms when the old ones fail to express the richness of the world around you. In this way, your craft intertwines the profound with the practical, preserving intricate philosophies alongside the essential records of everyday life. Every stroke of your pen is a powerful act of creation. Your words breathe life into symbols carved into stone or carefully inked onto fragile papyrus. Through your records, the rise and fall of empires, the deeds of kings, and the epic adventures of heroes endure. Each inscription carries weight, whether sowing seeds of rebellion or promoting peace, enacting reform or reinforcing tradition. Your role is to shape the narrative of history itself. The impact of your work cannot be overstated. From the earliest clay tablets to later, more sophisticated codices, your writings lay the very foundation of human knowledge. Without scribes like you, vast portions of history would have vanished, lost to time. It is because of your dedication that our collective memory persists, preserved for future generations to study, reflect on, and learn from. The permanence of your words ensures that laws, art, and knowledge continue across the ages. As dynasties crumbled and new powers rose, it was your ink that survived. The letters you penned outlasted the reigns of kings, helping to shape the civilizations that followed. In a sense, you mastered time itself, creating channels through which the thoughts and ideas of one generation can pass undisturbed into the next. Today, in our world of digital communication and fast-paced information exchange, it's easy to forget the monumental efforts of scribes like you. But the spirit of your craft endures. We still assign monumental importance to the written word, whether in legal courts, religious texts, or the literary world. Your legacy serves as a reminder that we too have a responsibility to preserve our thoughts and wisdom for future generations. As you reflect on your life as a scribe, it becomes clear how profoundly you shaped the world. You were the architect of memory, the silent creator of history. Through your work, you ensured that your thoughts would transcend your lifetime, that your culture, your world, would be recorded for posterity. In understanding your role, we gain a deeper appreciation for the intricate tapestry of human history, one that has been woven through careful inscriptions, written records that have survived the test of time. As you sit in that quiet chamber, surrounded by scrolls and the subtle sounds of your work, each stroke of ink carrying the weight of an empire, remember, you too are part of this long tradition. Just as your words shaped the future through the present, the scribes before you shaped the world we know today. Their legacy lives on through your work, and yours will live on through the generations to come, ensuring that the written word continues to speak through time. The artisans and craftspeople. Under the warm Egyptian sun, your workshop hums with the rhythm of focused labor. Inside, you and your fellow artisans gather around worn wooden tables, each of you deeply absorbed in your craft. You have spent years honing your skill in jewelry making, a revered tradition that carries immense cultural significance. For hours, you sit in still concentration, coaxing gold and lapis lazuli into elegant forms. Every piece you shape is more than an ornament. It is a story told in metal and stone, a whisper of belief and identity. You dedicate countless hours to your craft, fully aware that one misstep could undo everything. This is the challenge you accept every day, not only to create beauty, but to honor the profound meanings behind each adornment. How do you express your creativity within the bounds of tradition? How do you keep your inspiration alive under such pressure? These are the questions you face. Enter into your modest workshop, where the air carries the earthy scent of clay and the sharp tang of metal. Raw's light filters through narrow windows, bathing the room in golden warmth. Your table is scattered with materials: vivid turquoise, deep blue lapis lazuli, rich gold, cool silver, all waiting to be transformed. As both a craftsperson and an artist, you feel the weight of tradition in your hands. The pieces you create serve not only as decoration, but as vessels of ceremony, spirituality, and social identity. Your work is demanding, both physically and mentally. Each precise cut, each design decision, calls for unwavering attention. As you hammer a piece of gold into the graceful curve of a necklace, you must trust your hands and your instincts. There is no room for error, only the quiet persistence of one who knows their materials intimately. You aren't just shaping metal, you are shaping meaning. You run your fingers over a piece of unworked stone, sensing the potential within it. You've learned to listen to your materials, to understand their subtle messages. A piece of turquoise might call to you, not just for its beauty, but for the protection it offers. Lapis lazuli, with its celestial hue, feels fitting for an offering to the gods. Every choice you make is deliberate, every stone set with purpose. Around you, the sounds of chisels and scraping tools blend into a soft, rhythmic song. You exchange quiet words with fellow artisans, advice, insights, encouragement. You breathe in the sense of your workspace and feel yourself a part of something ancient, something sacred. Each piece you create carries your signature, like a painter's brushstroke or a sculptor's hand. Your style is unmistakably yours. When you inlay a pectoral with mythic scenes or sacred symbols, you're telling a story, your people's story. These treasures speak not just of beauty, but of belief, triumph, and devotion. You master techniques that demand precision and patience. Granulation, where you arrange minuscule gold spheres in intricate patterns. Cloisonné, where you shape compartments to hold stones or enamel in radiant designs. These are not tasks for the unskilled. They are the hallmarks of a master artisan, of you, and always your work tells a story. A lotus etched in gold speaks of rebirth, and always your work tells a story. A lotus etched in gold speaks of rebirth. An ong strung on a fine chain proclaims the promise of life. Your hands do not merely craft, they translate belief into form, making history shimmer beneath the skin. These stories of artistry, captured through stone paint and ingenuity, illuminate a world where skill met legacy and where artisans shaped narratives intended to resonate across centuries. Their silent works speak volumes about a civilization's reverence for its gods, rulers, and the hereafter, grounding them firmly in the annals of history. As we move from the finely carved statues and ever-vibrant tomb murals of our ancestors, we acknowledge the intricacy and devotion artisans like us dedicate to these monumental tasks. It is no small feat to breathe life into stone, to create a world in miniature, or to capture the essence of divinity in the wayward curves of bronze and gold. We find ourselves deeply entrenched in this dynamic kaleidoscope of creation as each day unfolds in our pursuit to sculpt, mold, and craft images that define our civilization. Every dawn, the sunlight bathes the tools we hold sacred. Among the abundance of materials at our disposal are the mighty stones that forever record our skill and imagination. Our laboriously fashioned statues, hewed from gigantic blocks of limestone and granite, speak not only to our artistic prowess, but also to our physical endurance. The sharp blade of the copper chisel is our ally, chipping away at the rock with precision and patience. Guided by the hand of experience, each strike reveals more of the god or pharaoh imprisoned within. Once the shape emerges, fine abrasives transform the rough stone into polished grandeur. Quartz sand, mixed with water, becomes the medium through which the surface comes to life, painstakingly smoothed by our craftsman's diligent hand. Our efforts resonate beyond the physical, harnessing the spiritual essence of those who will dwell eternally within these forms. Clay is more forgiving than stone, yet equally rewarding. As our fingers work the supple material, they conjure vessels and figures, earthy yet divine. This humble material, sent from the rich soils near the Nile, allows limitless expression. Through rotational motions, the potter's wheel teaches us rhythm and symmetry, while subtle strokes and carvings impart the delicacy of detail. Fire, the final arbiter of artistry, strengthens these creations. Kilns are heated by no less than raw's own energy, transforming clay into stark, resilient permanence. In each fired piece, we see echoes of our world, echoes that endure for ages. Our craft often takes us into the divine domain of precious metals. Here, We seek not mere aesthetic, but transcendence. Gold's malleability lets us craft divine images and symbols that hold not just wealth, but sacred value, striking a thin sheet until it becomes an ethereal embodiment of a deity, or a pharaoh's power demands harmony between hand and eye, metal and heat. Intricate patterns etched into surface are the spoke of reverence that binds art and scripture. We embed stones, lapis lazuli, carnelian, that capture both the viewer's eye and the heart of the one who commissions them. The workshop is a hive of activity, alive with the gentle hum of creation. We artisans are not isolated in our toil. We share camaraderie and a collective purpose that binds us. The Artisans' Quarter witnessed our conversations, full of laughter, the sudden hush when inspiration struck, and whispers of wisdom passed from elder to novice. Young artisans learn by doing, their eagerness polishing rough edges until maturity finds them with a steady gaze and steady hands. Our lineage is sculpted by time. As artisans, we understand the indelible mark we leave on society. The finished form, whether stone statue or gold amulet, contains a piece of us, each line and contour etched with our identity. These artifacts not only grace temples and tombs, but bear testament to our lives. In the bonds between nail and surface, tool and material, there's an intimate dialogue with eternity, a declaration of our shared history, entreated to speak long after our whispers have faded. It's not rare to find inspiration while contemplating the dichotomy between reverence for the divine and pragmatism of craftsmanship. Finding the sacred in the mundane remains a gentle reminder of the oneness between man, myth, and material. This is art's higher calling, urging us to contribute to Egypt's grandeur. A day's work often ends in reflection, contemplating the generations whose hearts my own hands touch. Letting go of a piece, whether it is destined for the pharaoh's pyramid or an offering to Ptol, encourages us to accept the impermanence of effort and the permanence of legacy. As the sun dips below the horizon, leaving the world cloaked in twilight, a sense of fulfillment glows within us. Our meticulous endeavors foster the timeless endeavor of sustaining civilization's soul. In the distance, the buzzing workshops of Deir el-Medina call us with whispers of challenges and triumphs yet to come. The pharaoh's patronage enables us to fully commit ourselves and our resources to the projects that command our creativity and dedication. Here, we will continue crafting wonders, acknowledging each piece not only as a representation of a civilization, but as a sliver of personal legacy entrusted to posterity. This anticipation of tomorrow, with its unyielding guidance from the sun and the ceaseless aspirations of the heart, stitches the fabric of our daily life. Our hands may tremble with age someday, but every crease will silently narrate the saga of those who helped sculpt pyramids, dreams, and destinies from stone, clay, and divine gold. Stepping into the bustling workshops of Deir el-Medina, you'll find yourself amidst the rhythms and hum of ancient Egypt's creative core. Before us lies a landscape animated with vibrant activity, where the scent of fresh clay mingles with that of heated stone, and the gleam of precious metals warms in the evening sun. This is where the identity of an artisan finds its true form. Each piece crafted becomes a testament to skill and dedication. Stone and clay, the steadfast muses of sculptors and potters, demand not only strength but finesse. These materials, invite a careful dance between force and delicacy, their potential limited only by the artisan's imagination and dexterity. You kneel by your workbench, fingers tracing the contours of a limestone block, already envisioning the deity's visage it will soon embody. The chisel becomes part of you, and with each precise motion, you shape something enduring from the silent stone. Beside you, a fellow artisan molds clay into an intricate relief. Her nimble hands bring Nile River scenes to life, destined to grace a noble's tomb. Her fingers, stained terracotta, glide over the surface with ease, telling stories of abundance and divine protection. You know clay speaks in earthen whispers, each piece a story, each stroke a breath given to stone walls that will witness the journey of the soul. Goldsmiths nearby work their magic with precious metal. You hear the rhythmic chatter of hammer on gold leaf, a language of tradition and innovation. Their practiced hands draw brilliance from metal, fashioning amulets and adornments worthy of royalty and gods. You watch, knowing that each stroke must be flawless. The smallest error could mar the piece or dull its sheen. Alongside you, painters blend mineral pigments into vivid murals. Their palettes bloom with lapis blues and ochre yellows. You've seen how each brushstroke helps craft a larger tale, rituals, harvests, wars, and celebrations captured in color that echoes across generations. This is no mere decoration. This is a symphony of memory and belief, painted onto walls that will outlive the painter. You are part of this ever-flowing river of creation. Here, in the hum of shared effort, you don't just make objects, you craft legacy. At mealtimes, you and your fellow artisans share stories of triumphs and setbacks, talk of family, and the future blends with the satisfaction of perfecting your craft. There is pride in this life, in coaxing art from raw material, in making something that will stand the test of time. Your day may involve engraving a tiny symbol onto gold or shaping a figure from stubborn limestone. Each task requires patience, control, and a deep attunement to your material. You come to know its temperament, its limits, its hidden form, waiting to emerge. What you do isn't just learned, it's inherited. Each technique, a precious note in an ancient symphony passed down through generations. The workshop is a sensory world. The scent of incense, the soft rasp of chisels, the whisper of brush on stone, it surrounds you. Sunlight filters through reed roofing, casting patterns over shards of stone and glittering flecks of gold. Visitors and traders drift in, bringing stories and commissions from distant lands. You work by the sun's arc, your shadow stretching across the earth as hours pass. You pause, wiping sweat from your brow, and look over what you've created. There's a deep, quiet contentment in this transformation from raw, inanimate matter into something meaningful. Under your hands, the material becomes more than itself. It becomes a story, a message, a piece of civilization's unfolding tale. There are quiet moments, too. You glance around at your companions, all lost in focus. Your fingertips wear smooth from stone and clay. Your tools, extensions of your own hands, carry memory and purpose. They fall silent only when the stars begin to gleam. Sometimes you wonder who will see your work in the centuries to come. Will they understand your care, your pride? The thought humbles and connects you to a greater story. Within every chisel mark, brushstroke, and hammer tap, is your essence, a message for the future from your hands in the past. When the sun sets, you leave the cradle of creativity fulfilled, but you return with the dawn, ready to shape the sands of time once more. In this workshop, Deir el Medina, you've found not just a profession, but a purpose. Here, you don't just craft objects, you etch your identity into stone, gold, and clay. You sculpt a civilization's memory. The jewelry you create, one day resting behind museum glass, admired by eyes far removed from your time. You live a life of creativity and purpose. You've contributed not only to beauty, but to the soul of your people. And as today's artists and dreamers look to the past for inspiration, they see your legacy and realize their work too can echo through the ages. As you shape your creations, you're not simply crafting adornments, you're tracing symbolic paths, embedding each piece with echoes of belief and culture. Your jewelry becomes more than decoration. It reflects the soul of your people. With every offering to a deity, every piece buried with the dead, you create something meant to outlast life itself. These are no fleeting beauties. They're messages across time, meant to speak to both the mortal and the divine. Your skills don't end with jewelry. The precision you've honed with gold and stone prepares you for even greater responsibilities, carving statues that reach toward the heavens, painting murals that stretch across tomb walls, meant to last for eternity. Whether your canvas is a ring or a temple wall, your goal remains unchanged: to tell stories that honor the living, the dead, and the gods. Your art, no matter the form, becomes both offering and legacy, an echo of existence rendered immaterial. As you move from wearable beauty to monumental creation, your influence grows. Each bead, each towering colossus, each painted glyph is part of your mission to immortalize the divine within the human and the human within the sacred. This is the essence of your work, an unfolding story as alive today as it was in your first carving. You've given your life to a craft that demands not only creativity but discipline. It may have started with twisting gold into elegant forms and in laying stones with precision, but now your tools strike stone instead of metal. You're tasked with carving the faces of gods and kings, with giving form to the eternal. The scale is different. Your hands once shaped what could be worn, and now they wrest meaning from granite, but your heart remains grounded in reverence and exactitude. To release a divine figure from stone, you must know more than the tools. You must know the spirit within. A mistake isn't a blemish, it's a scar on the sacred. The form you bring forth must inspire awe, stir the soul, and stand as sentinel for ages to come. Then you turn to the tomb. Here, your hands shift from chisel to brush. You bring lives to color on plastered walls, feasts, harvests, voyages into the afterlife. You grind minerals into brilliant hues, lapis into deep blue, malachite into green, and mix them with oil to create a palette worthy of eternity. Every line, every shade, every figure you paint is chosen with intention. Each symbol becomes a guide for the soul's journey beyond this world. You turn walls into sacred texts. A hunting scene promises eternal provision. A ceremonial procession secures a noble's passage into the afterlife. You begin with sketches in red ochre, reviewed and blessed by scribes and priests. Only then do you paint, carefully measuring, aligning, balancing. These murals are not yours alone. They belong to tradition, to faith, to the one who commissioned them, and to the gods who will one day read them. Whether you sculpt or paint, your work transcends surface. It speaks of power, mortality, and divine order. You elevate everyday scenes into sacred moments. You are not just a maker, you are a guardian of memory, a voice of your time, etched in stone and sealed in pigment. Your tools are humble, copper chisels, dolerite pounders, linen brushes, but what you create is anything but. With patience, you draw a noble's gaze from unforgiving granite, or capture divine grace in a painted profile lit by flickering torchlight. You don't just shape objects, you shape emotion, belief, and the very sense of continuity. When sculpting, you begin with a sketch, then a clay model. You study every proportion. Then comes the final test, stone. Granite demands your strength. Limestone rewards your subtlety. In your hands, both come to life. Then comes the final test, stone. Granite demands your strength. Limestone rewards your subtlety. In your hands, both come to life. The symbols you carve into crowns and garments speak volumes. Color brings warmth, spirit, and sanctity to the hardest surfaces. You understand how light moves over a figure, how it can evoke awe or fear. Painting requires equal rigor. You layer plaster, sketch your scene, adjust as needed. Every brushstroke must communicate clearly. You work quickly, but never carelessly. Often, you take a step back, squinting, gauging flow and harmony. The mural must breathe. The symbolism must sing. The story must endure. The stories you shape through stone, pigment, and patient hands reveal a world where your skill meets legacy. Your silent creations speak volumes about your civilization's reverence for the gods, for rulers, for the eternal journey of the soul. In your hands, the sacred and the human find form, and your name becomes part of history. As you walk through halls lined with statues and walls glowing with painted life, you recognize the devotion these works demand. It's no small feat to breathe spirit into stone, to build sacred worlds in miniature, or to shape divinity from metal and clay. And yet, you do. Every day, you rise to sculpt, mold, and craft the images that define your people. Each morning, the rising sun casts light across your tools. Stone stands as your eternal partner, unyielding, immortal. From vast slabs of limestone and granite, you carve not just forms, but stories. The copper chisel in your hand is more than a tool. It is your voice. Strike by strike, you reveal the god or pharaoh locked within, waiting for release. Then you polish. With quartz sand and water, you smooth the stone until it glows with life. You're not just shaping matter, you're awakening spirit. The soul that will inhabit the statue forever begins to breathe beneath your fingertips. Clay, more forgiving than stone, yields quickly to your touch. You press and turn it on the potter's wheel, shaping vessels and figurines from Nile earth. Rhythm and symmetry guide your hands. When the kiln's fire, powered by Ra himself, hardens your work, you feel your momentary gesture turned to permanence. Gold takes you into the sacred. You coax it gently into forms that shimmer with power. You hammer, etch, and inlay with care. Carnelian, turquoise, lapis lazuli. Each gem you set carries symbolic force. You're not just making jewelry, you're making conduits between gods and mortals. Your workshop pulses with purpose. You're never alone. Around you, the air hums with concentration, with the murmur of shared wisdom and laughter. You remember your first days, the uncertainty of new hands. Now, those same hands guide others. Time shapes you. Even as you shape your work, each sculpture, each amulet carries a part of your spirit. These pieces guard tombs, adorn temples, and bear the weight of your civilization's soul. With every tool you lift, you engage in a dialogue with eternity, speaking in the language of craft and reverence. Your work exists not just to decorate, but to connect the divine, the daily, the eternal. At day's end, you rest your tools. Whether your creation serves a pharaoh's pyramid or an offering to Putta, you release it with reverence. As twilight settles over the land, you feel quiet pride. You know that your work sustains the soul of your people. In Deir el-Medina, the workshop buzzes with creation. The pharaoh's commissions give you the tools and time to dream, to dedicate, to bring wonders to life. And in each piece you shape, you leave more than a god's image or a king's likeness. You leave a sliver of yourself. Tomorrow calls. The sun will rise again. Your heart will stir, and once more you'll step forward, your trembling hands still carrying the wonder, the weight, and the power of shaping time itself. Welcome, and thanks for joining. Tonight, we return to the banks of the Nile, not to speak of pharaohs or golden tombs, but of calloused hands and quiet mornings. This is not a story of crowns or conquest, but of the ones who rose before the sun, guided oxen through the mud, and turned seed into empire. And if you enjoy this content, let us know where you're listening from and what time it is for you. It is such a quiet honor to witness the modern world drawn together by these ancient echoes. Now, feel the cool earth beneath your feet. Catch the faint clink of water jars in the distance, and slip gently into a life carved from soil, stone, and the timeless rhythm of the Nile. Before the first rays of sunlight gild the sky, the village already stirs. Along the fertile banks of the Nile, soft footsteps patter across worn earth, and the gentle bleating of goats blends with the splash of water drawn from earthen jars. Mothers rouse their children with quiet songs. Fathers shoulder worn wooden tools, polished by generations of use. Even the youngest, with fingers still clumsy, are taught to plant seeds, sweep irrigation ditches, or lead animals to graze. Life begins early and without pause in this land, where time is measured not by clocks, but by the rhythm of flood, field, and harvest. The Nile gives, but not always gently. A season of generous flooding can turn barren ground into gold, soil thick with silt, ready to birth stalks of barley and wheat. But too much water drowns the roots. Too little dries the earth to dust. Families pray for the right balance as they rebuild embankments and clear canals, adapting to the river's moods. Fields must be plowed with wooden yokes dragged by oxen, often through mud that clings ankle deep. Backs bend in the sun, arms ache, but the planting must go on. Birds circle, pests descend, and with every seed pressed into soil comes the unspoken hope that this year will be better than the last. Harvest is a season of urgency. Crops ripen quickly under the burning sky, and each stalk must be cut before it withers. Fathers work beside sons. Women carry heavy bundles of grain, shaking loose kernels and sweeping them into baskets. The whole village moves in a coordinated dance of survival. Grain isn't just food, it's currency, temple offering, and tax. Government scribes come with tally sticks and guards, counting every bundle, weighing every sack. A portion goes to the state, another to the granary, and what remains must last a family through the next lean months. It's not uncommon for disputes to flare over measurements, fairness, or simple fatigue, but the work goes on, and yet the land is not all they serve. In certain seasons, when the fields lie fallow, or the Pharaoh calls, farmers are summoned to a different kind of duty. Here, their knowledge of earth and movement becomes invaluable. They are no longer just growers, they become haulers, masons, ramp builders, plasterers, and laborers beneath an endless sky. Imagine a man who just weeks earlier guided an ox through muddy fields. Now he grips a rope beside a dozen others, pulling a block of limestone taller than himself up a ramp slick with water and sand. He sings to keep rhythm, shouting through gritted teeth, not just to endure, but to inspire those beside him. Another carries baskets of debris, his fingers calloused not from grain, but stone. Some of the same care used to measure crop rows is now applied to leveling foundations and aligning tomb walls with the stars. For many, this journey is a sacrifice. Wives and elders must tend to farms alone. Children grow taller without their fathers present. But it is also a matter of pride to be part of building something eternal. A temple, a pyramid, even a humble shrine is to leave a mark that outlives harvests. Around evening fires, men whisper stories about the great works they helped raise. That carving, one might say, was polished by my own hand. In time, these memories join family lore, passed down like planting wisdom or recipes for bread. Farming and labor were never just chores, they were crafts, deeply rooted in ancestral knowledge. Men knew when to plant by watching birds, stars, or the curve of the moon. Women wove flax into linen that clothed both the living and the dead. Children learned to track river levels, build ovens, shape bricks from mud and straw, and ferment barley into beer. Each skill held value, not just for survival, but for identity. To know how to coax life from the soil, or strength from stone, was to be truly Egyptian. And yet, theirs was often a life of hardship. Homes were made of sun-dried brick, one or two rooms shared by many. Illness could sweep through entire households. When floods failed or officials overreached, hunger loomed. Some resisted, others simply endured. They found resilience in faith, community, and tradition. During festivals, they offered the first fruits of their labor to the gods, praying for protection and peace. When rest came, it was filled with simple joys, softer over shared meals, music from stringed instruments, quiet walks along the river. Their legacy is immense. It exists not just in the towering monuments that draw the gaze of future civilizations, but in the unseen infrastructure, the canals, roads, and food systems that allowed Egypt to rise. It lives on in the silent strength of the anonymous farmer, the dusty builder, the young girl who ground grain as her mother once had. While kings wore crowns and priests conducted rituals, it was these hands, roughened by toil and shaped by time, that kept the empire alive. So, what does it mean to live a life so tied to the land, yet pulled away to build wonders that defy time? It means to belong to both earth and legacy, to walk in bare feet across the same fields your ancestors once sowed, and then to climb scaffolds with a body worn but unbroken. It means your sweat fed the gods, your labor raised walls that tell your story without ever speaking your name. Dawn greets you with a cool mist drifting off the Nile. You open your eyes already thinking about the day ahead, scanning the river and sky for signs. Your life bends to the rhythm of the floodwaters. Every act you take matters, not just for your family, but for the entire village. During Aket, you stand along the banks and watch the water rise. You track the levels with a rod carved by your father, notched carefully so you know what to expect. Sometimes scribes arrive to measure and record the flood, standing beside your simple tools with their papyrus and ink. You also check the village's nilometer, running your fingers along the worn stone markings as you read the Nile's message for the year ahead. When Parad begins and the waters pull back, you take to the fields with your family. The ground is soft beneath your feet as you press your hoe into the damp earth. Your children help by collecting leftover stalks, and your eldest helps plow with a simple wooden blade weighed down with stones. You walk the edges of your plot, sealing breaks in the canal with hand-packed mud, checking the flow from the dikes. You've learned from your father where the clay holds best and how to spot cracks before they give way. Your tools rest beneath a tree, next to bags of wheat, barley, flax, and lentils. You reach into the sacks, measuring out seed for sowing. With steady hands, you cast the grains in careful arcs and then lead cattle through the field so their hooves press the seed deep into the fertile silt. It's slow work, but it matters. Irrigation never ends. You haul water using the sharaf, swinging its bucket over and over to fill the ditches. Your children carry clay pots to smaller corners of the field. Mud builds up, channels collapse, but you've learned how to patch them quickly. The village hums with the sound of water and tools, each rhythm familiar and necessary. At midday, you rest beneath a palm with others, breaking bread and sharing onions, beans, and dried fish. Sometimes a trader comes with copper tools or oil. You might offer extra grain or baskets in exchange. Disputes over water are resolved nearby, with the elders stepping in, men who remember past floods, past famines, and the agreements that held everyone together. When Shimu comes, you rise with the sun to harvest. Flint sickle in hand, you cut wheat and barley, while your children follow behind, picking up stray stalks. You carry the bundles to the threshing floor and guide your donkey in wide circles to loosen the grain. Then you winnow it, letting the chaff blow away in the wind. You carefully store the grain in pits lined with straw, sealing them tight with clay. The women advise you how to check for pests, how to store for seasons when nothing grows. Every year brings new tests. If the floods are weak, you dig deeper canals by hand. If they're too strong, you rebuild your dikes. When locusts come, you light smoky fires, waving smoke toward the skies in desperation. If food runs short, you trade what little you have, combine supplies with your neighbors, and hope the next season is kinder. You do not do this alone. Your work is organized, thoughtful, taught by your parents, and now passed on to your children. You manage labor, rotate fields, prepare for what comes next. Without your planning, the village cannot stand Without your hands, the kingdom would not grow. You rise early, step into the fields, and carry the empire forward with every day's labor. Then comes a ket again, and with it, the river floods. The fields vanish beneath brown, swirling water. For a moment, your work in the fields pauses, but not your labor. Pharaoh's men arrive with scrolls and names. You know your time has come. You pack what you can, flatbread, onions, dried fish, and say goodbye to your children. You trade your sickle and hoe for ropes, chisels, and mallets. You walk for days with others from nearby villages, bound for a place you've only heard in stories. When you arrive, the air is thick with dust and the sound of hammers striking stone. You look up and see the rising sides of a pyramid or the columns of a temple reaching skyward. You're part of something massive, far bigger than a single field or season. A scribe writes your name on a clay tablet, and you're assigned to a crew. You join others, stacking stones, moving supplies, shaping blocks. Men from your village pass on tricks: how to grip the chisel, where to brace when lifting, how to move stone without breaking it. You sleep in a hut of reeds, eat from shared pots, and rise again to the call of the overseer. You sleep in a hut of reeds, eat from shared pots, and rise again to the call of the overseer. You labor not just with your hands, but with your memory: how to measure, how to balance, how to endure. These aren't just stones you raise. They are monuments, temples, tombs. They will last far beyond your years. And when your time ends and you return to your fields, you carry with you a new strength, a new story to pass to your children. You've done this before. The floodwaters come. The fields disappear beneath the rising Nile. And just like that, your life shifts. One morning, overseers arrive in your village with their scrolls and names. Yours is called again. You say goodbye to your children, shoulder the pack. Your wife helped prepare flatbread, dried onions, a little salted fish, and you leave the crops in their hands. By the time you reach the site, the sun is just beginning to lift the mist off the horizon. It's already hot. The shadow of a massive stone structure looms ahead, perhaps a pyramid, perhaps a temple, and you know you'll spend your next few months watching it rise, block by block, because of men like you. At the worksite, you're assigned a team and a task. You might be a hauler today, gripping the thick ropes that dig into your palms as you and others drag a massive limestone block up a mud-slick ramp. Or maybe you're handed a chisel and sent to kneel at a stone's edge, striking line after line under a foreman's eye. Every muscle in your body begins to ache after just a few hours, but you press on. Chants rise around you, not just noise, but rhythm, strength, a beat that carries you through the pain. The songs echo across the site, keeping time as you haul, lift, chip, and shout. Supervisors, overseers, walk among you. They watch for slackers, check measurements, bark orders. You don't mind most of them. The best ones used to be farmers, too. They know your pace. They know when you're giving your all. Life at camp isn't easy, but it works. Rows of mud brick huts crowd together, and you share one with men from your village. You take turns baking flatbread in clay ovens, trading bits of your salt ration for extra helpings of lentils. There's a well nearby, and help runs between crews with mugs of water that taste like sand but save your life in the heat. You smear your cracked skin with animal fat and tie cloth tight over your head to keep the sun from boiling your brain. You find yourself using old knowledge in new ways. You understood irrigation back home, And now you help shape the ramps with packed earth, sloped just right to haul stone. You recognize weak clay, spot where the bank will give, and speak up. Sometimes you're asked to show the younger ones how to lash a load or wedge a block with broken reed bundles to level it. You were a farmer, but that didn't mean you weren't an engineer all along. Work starts before the sky turns pink, and when it ends, your back is a knot of pain. Still, around the fire, there's laughter. Someone passes, a skin of beer. You talk about home, how the barley's growing, if the goats stayed healthy. You wonder if your son remembered to repair the channel walls. Even in all this, there's pride. When you see that stone rise into the sky, carved with stories of gods and kings, you know it holds part of your life. You didn't just feed a nation, you helped build its bones. You think of your children walking past these walls long after you're gone, saying, "My father helped make that." You did not come here as a slave. You came as a builder, as a farmer, as one of thousands whose hands shape a kingdom, not just in green fields, but in stone, sweat, and song. You do not work alone. You never have. When a rope frays under strain, you drop what you're doing and run, not just because it's urgent, but because the man struggling beside it might be your cousin or someone who shared their bread with you yesterday. You grab hold, brace your legs in the sand, and pull. When a stone shifts wrong or a ramp starts to crumble, you're there with the others, voices raised in warning or quick laughter, turning crisis into coordination. Out here, teamwork isn't just helpful, it's how you survive. At day's end, the sweat has dried, but the ache remains. You're covered in dust, your arms feel like wood, but as you sit beside your crew with a shared jug of beer or a handful of lentils, pride sneaks in. You hear someone retell how you kept a block from falling, or how your chisel made a perfect edge on the first strike. The moment may be small, but the memory is strong. You laugh, sing, and know this: what you built today will outlast you. But your story begins long before stone. You rise with the sun, not because of duty, but because that's when life stirs, when the mist lifts off the Nile and the sky blushes faintly pink. Your village wakes slowly around you, a baby's cry, the sound of chickens scratching at the dust, and the whisper of water pulled from clay pots. You step outside, feeling the cool of early morning on your face before the heat presses down like a second skin. The Nile has pulled back again, retreating from its annual flood and leaving behind thick, black silt, earth that smells of life and rot and promise. You know it well. You were raised in it. Your feet sink into it as you guide the wooden plow, your oxen snorting softly ahead. Each furrow you carve feels like a quiet pact with the gods and your ancestors. You press seeds into the damp soil, not just thinking of harvest, but of the bread it will become, the mouths it will feed. But this is not just about survival. You've learned from your father how to shape the land, how to build dikes, to guide water, how to read the behavior of birds or clouds, how to act fast when the rain is too strong or too late. Every callus, every ache in your spine tells the story of someone who doesn't just endure the earth, but knows it, shapes it, and trusts it. You are not only feeding your family, you're feeding an empire. The crops you raise, barley, emmer wheat, flax, fill the granaries one sheaf at a time. You watch them pile higher and higher. Your work, marked and tallied by scribes with ink-stained hands. You grumble when the taxmen come, when bundles are taken away, but you also understand that grain will feed the stone haulers, the temple painters, the palace guards. The empire moves forward because your land answers the call, and some of your harvest, it travels beyond Egypt's borders. You'll never see the harbors at Byblos or the copper mines in Sinai, but your grain sails there. Your barley might become beer drunk by men loading cedar wood. Your flax might become linen worn in courts far from your village. And though you'll never leave your stretch of riverbank, your hand, your labor, quietly reaches places you've only heard about in the stories passed around the fire. At home, your wife weaves that flax into linen, the shuttle clicking between her fingers like the beat of a drum. The cloth she finishes may someday wrap the dead, line a noble's cloak, or dress your own children. Your family pounds grain with rhythmic, practiced strength, baking heavy round loaves and carry baskets to the ovens. Your children patch dikes, chase goats, or help guide the plow. You all labor not because it's easy, but because it is life. When you return home from the fields, tired and sun-stung, the smell of fresh bread greets you, and so does your family, with dusty hands, wide grins, and stories about frogs or fish or something silly that happened in the irrigation ditch. No, it's not luxury, but it is enough, and it is yours. You'll likely never be painted on temple walls. No bard will sing your name in the courts of pharaohs. But sometimes, when you pass the murals or carvings, you recognize the echoes, not your face, but your hands in the angle of a tool, in the grain fields etched behind a god, in the careful way a rope is pulled tight. That is your legacy, etched into stone, hidden behind gold, carried in rhythm and dust. You've survived droughts that cracked the land and locusts that stripped it bare. You have faced tax collectors, hard winters, and the sting of illness. You've lost some seasons to failure, and others to hard-earned abundance. And when the waters rose too high or too low, you still showed up, shoulders low, hands steady, planting again, hoping again. Welcome, and thanks for joining. Tonight, we step into a world far from gilded palaces and royal banquets. A world where the first light of dawn finds you, drawing water from the Nile, your feet sinking into cool mud, and the only music is the low murmur of fellow servants stirring from hard mats. We're peeling back the veil on life in ancient Egypt. Before we begin, if you enjoy uncovering these hidden lives, go ahead and hit like and subscribe if you haven't already, only if you genuinely enjoy the content. And let us know in the comments where you're tuning in from. It's always a thrill to see how our modern world gathers around these ancient whispers. Thank you. Now, dim the lights, feel the distant breeze off the river, and settle in. Step with me into a day lived in service and unfree labor, where every dawn brought new burdens, and every dusk carried hopes for a gentler tomorrow. To be a servant in ancient Egypt, before dawn breaks over the Nile, you slip quietly along narrow mud-brick corridors tucked behind your master's grand house. The air clings to your skin, thick with the scent of baking bread and the faint smoke of oil lamps still burning low. In dim light, you and the other servants stir from humble mats laid across the hard-packed earth, blinking away sleep as you prepare for another day of unending chores. This hidden world, cramped sleeping quarters, steamy kitchens, and dusty storage rooms lies just beyond the glittering collars and carved ivory of the rooms your masters occupy. Here, tired eyes meet in silent understanding. Whispered stories echo off cold walls and small gestures of kindness. A shared piece of onion, a half-broken bead, given in friendship, offer brief reprieves from the weight of duty you bear. You rise hours before your masters, knowing that by the time their first guests arrive, you must have drawn fresh water from the Nile, swept the floors so immaculate that a drop of dust would disgrace your lord, and baked loaves of barley bread that will vanish within moments at the family table. Your tunic is plain linen, damp in the morning chill, and you press it flat against your back, aware that any sign of wear or dirt might draw sharp words from the overseer. Still, when you catch sight of another servant's encouraging nod or feel the warmth of a shared cup of beans, you remember that you are not entirely alone in this. Your world is defined by these cramped spaces. Narrow corridors branch off from the buzzing activity of the main house, leading to kitchens where wooden mallets pound grain into flour and clay pots simmer with onions, lentils, or leftover fish. With each bit of steam that pulses into the hallway, you're reminded of the next urgent task: fetching clay pots stacked high on precarious shelves, stoking fires that could scorch your arms, or mixing fresh dough before the ovens burn out. Once the morning sun creeps over the palace walls, you slip out of your quarters to draw water from a nearby well. The buckets are heavy, and the rope rough against your hands, but it's a job you perform daily, knowing that without clean water, the entire household grinds to a halt. Your meager belongings, perhaps a simple blue faience bead or a chipped wooden comb, are stored in a battered chest in the corner of your sleeping room. This chest holds every piece of your identity: a few tunics, a small clay lamp for late-night tasks, and a handful of grains saved from yesterday's milling. Privacy is scarce. You sleep shoulder to shoulder with others on thin mats, listening to the soft groans of exhaustion as you and your fellow servants rest for the briefest moment before the next wave of chores. Yet, in those pre-dawn hours, you whisper secrets to one another, letters scrawled in charcoal on discarded pottery shards, called ostraca, passed hand to hand. In their crude lines, you find evidence that even within these walls, friendships form and rivalries flare, anchoring you to a shared humanity far from the world of feathered fans and gold-trimmed robes. Outside the city's imposing walls, you may find yourself assigned to sprawling estates along the fertile banks of the Nile. Here, the master's villa, with its gleaming columns and ornamental gardens, remains just out of reach. Instead, you dwell in simple mud-brick barracks clustered together, where the only furniture is a mat for sleeping and clay jars for water. You wake at dawn to mend irrigation dikes. The silt, once so precious, becomes a constant adversary, leaking through hastily tamped mud. You work beside other field laborers, some born free, others born into bondage. The master's overseer barks orders while you and your companions rebuild canals, guide oxen through muddy fields, and watch over cattle grazing in the tall reeds. When the work is done, you may have a meager meal of coarse bread and onions, washed down with water that sometimes carries a brackish taste of river silt. Hygiene is a daily struggle. Bathing is reserved for special occasions, rituals at the local shrine, or the festivals when the Nile's rising is celebrated with offerings. On most days, you wipe sweat from your brow and stir dust into your hair, knowing that clothes will remain unwashed until the next market day, when you can trade a bit of labor for fresh linen. Soon after you have eaten, you gather under the scant shade of palm fronds, sharing stories of missed pay or rumored kindness from a benevolent mistress. These moments, brief as they are, become lifelines, reminders that even in fields of burning sun and sticky fly-laden air, the human spirit persists. Within each household or estate, your status is clearly marked by the color of your tunic, the thickness of your sandals, and the weight of your collar or absence of one. Free servants may receive task assignments directly from the steward. Slaves, however, exist as property under the law. If you were captured in war or born into bondage, you know that escape from this life is nearly impossible. Yet, there are rare moments when hope glimmers, a mistress who quietly slips you an extra loaf of bread, a master who teaches you to read simple glyphs in exchange for loyalty, or an overseer who, recognizing your skill with ropes or clay, sends word you might be transferred to a less grueling post. Even so, most days you accept your place in this rigid system, finding solace in small ways, trading a borrowed comb for a respite from the midday sun, exchanging a grain of incense for the chance to whisper a prayer at the local shrine, or nurturing friendships that become feigned families in exile. On market days, you may accompany your master's children, or fetch supplies from the bustling stalls near the river's edge. Here, you glimpse the wider world, traders from Nubia hawking exotic spices, artisans selling glazed pottery, and scribes chanting accounts of temple offerings. You feel a twinge of envy when a Nubian merchant bargains for his freedom, or hears of a craftsman rising in status due to the king's favor. Yet you also see yourself reflected in the wares, clay vessels that remind you of cooking pots back home, woven baskets echoing the ones you use to carry grain, and jewelry that mirrors the mismatched beads you keep as treasured adornments. These fleeting visions of possibility remind you that even the unfree laborers have a story, a life beyond the heavy yoke of servitude. And though the path to true freedom may seem distant as the river's horizon, your quiet resilience and the bonds you forge become the foundation of your identity. Your daily routine unfolds like clockwork: pre-dawn bread baking, morning water hauls, midday courtyard sweeps, afternoon deliveries to the fields, and evening fireside chores. You know exactly when the foreman's whip will crack, when the mistress's call for fresh linens will echo from the bedchamber, and when the overseer will demand more grain be brought from the storehouse. But within this relentless schedule, you carve out moments of autonomy. Perhaps you whistle an old folk tune while brushing out barley stalks, or invent a subtle gesture to signal to a fellow servant that it's time for a stolen mouthful of figs. You save scraps of onion skins to dye your linen a slightly richer hue, and you memorize the route to the granary so you can slip away after dusk to offer a prayer of thanks at a shrine hidden among date palms. When servants gather under cover of night, or during the tiny lull between tasks, you share whispered stories of home, how your father taught you to coax a stubborn seed from the earth, how your mother spun threads of flax while singing lullabies to her grandchildren. You learn secrets where the master hides extra wine, how the foreman's son is too afraid to tend to the cattle, or which guard falls asleep by the riverbank first. In these moments of solidarity, you transform from a faceless cog in a machine of wealth and power into a person worthy of compassion. You may lack freedom, but you possess knowledge of the land, of the Nile's moods, and of the subtle rhythms that govern every household. and estate. And with that knowledge, you find a flicker of control, a small flame of dignity, amid the shadows of servitude. If you pause in the courtyard during a brief respite, you might see a mother cradling her weeping child before returning to her chores. You might notice two young cousins swapping ragged dolls as a momentary escape from the relentless heat, and you'll overhear older servants reminiscing about the day the Nile flooded just right, saving the entire village from famine. In every whispered conversation, you hear tales of solidarity, how a woman slipped her barley ration to a friend's hungry child, or how men banded together to rebuild a collapsed dike before the master discovered the damage. These acts of compassion, though modest, become legacies that ripple through generations, teaching you that even in servitude, you can shape the world around you. Belief in the gods sustains you when the sky grows dark with locust clouds, or the tax collector's tallies threaten your meager existence. You press your palm to the carved figure of Hathor in the temple corridor, offering a pinch of incense and a heartfelt plea. Grant me strength to endure. Grant my children safety. Grant my loved ones a harvest next season. And when you see an unexpected grain of wheat sprout in the unlikely crease of a granary wall, you whisper gratitude for a small miracle. In these faith-filled moments, you glimpse a world beyond your chains, a world where your spirit cannot be owned. In stepping into the daily life of a servant or unfree laborer, you see how their toil, whether in shadowed kitchens, sun-baked fields, or stifling dormitories, wove the very fabric of ancient Egypt. Their sweat and whispered prayers carried the weight of empires, feeding palaces, fueling armies, and building temples that reached toward the sky. And though their names often vanish from royal records, their resilience and compassion endure in every weathered wall, every silent canal, and every shard of pottery inscribed with a humble human story. Before dawn breaks over the Nile, you slip along the narrow mud-brick corridors that wind behind your master's grand house. The air clings to you, thick with the scent of baking bread and the soft clatter of pots. You rouse from the humble mat that serves as your bed, knowing your day will be filled with endless chores. This hidden world, tucked away from the shiny collars and glittering jewels of your masters, welcomes you in darkness. Here, your tired eyes meet those of fellow servants. Whispered stories are shared in passing, and small moments of kindness, a crust of bread offered by a friend, a quiet nod of understanding, offer brief relief from the weight of duty you carry. You live and sleep in narrow mud-brick corridors that run behind the grand walls of Egypt's elite households. These hidden passageways form a world apart, reserved for you and the other servants. The kitchens, always teeming with heat, sit just a breath away from the dark storage rooms where you stack clay jars of grain, garlic, and salted fish. In the corner of your communal sleeping space, thin mats lie across hard-packed earth, your only comfort at night. During the day, you scurry between tasks, ever aware of the voices of your masters echoing through the gilded halls you are forbidden to enter. The warm, steamy air from the kitchens mixes with the aroma of fresh bread, reminding you how essential your work is, even if no one above suspects the effort it takes. You keep a few personal possessions close, a battered wooden comb, a chipped blue fane's bead, a simple linen tunic, symbols of small joys in a place where privacy is rare. At mealtimes, you eat quickly, barley bread torn in half, a handful of onions, sometimes scraps of fish, or a fig, if fortune favors you. These morsels filter down from your master's table, leftovers that you and your companions share in a tight circle during brief breaks. On rare occasions, your master or mistress bestows a small gift, perhaps a slightly finer robe or a string of beads, but you know that rigid class boundaries rarely flatten. Unless you are born free or earn an unexpected favor, you have little chance to climb beyond your station. You rise before the sun, long before anyone in the main house stirs. Your first task is to draw fresh water from the well, balancing a heavy clay jar on your shoulder so that the palace will have enough for cooking and bathing. Next, you sweep and scrub floors, using fronds of palm to chase away dust and grains of sand before they find their way into your master's slippers. In the kitchen, you grind emmer wheat on stone querns, your arms pressed to the top stone, twisting and turning until the flour you produce feels like dust between your fingers. You mix dough into clay pots, stoke the fire beneath the oven, and judge the heat just right, because a burnt loaf could earn you a harsh reprimand. Under the watchful eye of the overseer, an older servant entrusted to maintain strict order, you carry water from courtyard wells, fetch bundles of reeds for torches, and sort baskets overflowing with produce. One wrong step, one misplaced loaf, and you risk sharp words, or worse. One wrong step, one misplaced loaf, and you risk sharp words, or worse. Yet, even as you labor in perpetual motion, you find moments of solidarity with other servants. In that pre-dawn hush, you exchange whispered confidences, short arguments over who cleans which room, small joys at finding a half-broken bead in the dust, or shared secrets scrawled in charcoal on broken potsherds, ostraca, hidden under your mat. These scraps of writing reveal friendships, grudges, and fleeting dreams, proof that your world, though small, brims with human complexity. It is there, in the tiny crack between chores, that you build a lifeline of trust. I'll cover for you if the overseer comes, or pass me a sip of your water jug when you fetch it. Beyond the city walls, sprawling estates sit along the Nile's banks. You may be assigned to one of these fields, where basic mud brick barracks house entire families of laborers. Each morning, you step into damp furrows to till the soil, your hands red from mud and sting of insects. You rebuild dikes, feeling the weight of your master's demands as surely as the hot clay pressed between your fingers. Cattle graze nearby, watched over by you and your fellow field workers, who are often children, parents, and grandparents from the same lineage of servitude. In your barracks, you sleep on mats, surrounded only by clay jars for water and perhaps a battered wooden chest to guard your meager belongings. Meals are simple, roughly baked bread, a handful of lentils, the occasional onion. Clean water is rationed, and you bathe only when the master permits. If the Nile floods, or if there is a festival, dried mud cakes beneath your fingernails become badges of endurance. Here, overseers maintain a delicate balance between necessity and oppression. They enforce rules with a stern voice. Armed with a stick, they seldom hesitate to raise. You know that rebellion is dangerous, yet on rare afternoons, when the overseer's back is turned, you and others share a murmur of protest. A wife might slip extra onions to her husband. A father might promise his daughter a flicker of hope. Still, for many of you, these fields represent a cycle of unending toil. Generations have labored in the same mud brick quarters, your parents, your grandparents, and soon your own children. Even so, when you rise at dawn, you find solidarity in the rhythm of the seasons. The crack of dawn, the river's swell, the harvest of grain that will feed the temple's workers and raise coffers across the kingdom. Within temple complexes, a slightly different world awaits. If you serve as a temple worker or cultic laborer, gardener, baker, musician, or water carrier, you don a simple white linen garment and keep your head shaven for ritual purity. Your home sits on the outskirts of the sacred precinct, often with just enough space for a small private corner, or, if you're fortunate, a patch of land to tend your own garden. The temple's priests give you orders, and you scrub temple floors, repair cracked mud brick walls, and haul water for ritual ablutions. Statues of gods demand daily offerings, food, incense, music, so you and your companions must polish gold surfaces with fine sand and soft linen. Your food is more reliable than that of rural peasants. Loaves of bread, jugs of beer, and the occasional dribble of figs from temple stores. On festival days, you receive small gifts, perhaps a piece of cloth or a handful of oil. In these moments, you glimpse a measure of status or respect that other laborers seldom see. Yet, even here, your life unfolds under strict hierarchy. Priests walk freely through halls you may never enter. Rituals unfold in languages you barely understand, and your every movement is observed for ritual purity and obedience. Every work environment shapes you, your friendships, your sense of self, and your hopes for tomorrow. In the hush of servant quarters, you learn to whisper hopes and grievances. In the sprawling fields, you find kinship in shared fatigue and occasional laughter when the Nile's breeze carries relief. In the dormitories of state projects, you bond with artisans and captives alike over chipped pottery and shared bowls of gruel. In the sacred halls of temples, you discover a small pride in nourishing the gods, even as priests tower above you in linen robes. As dawn's first light shimmers on polished limestone floors, you are already awake in the household of a noble. Desert air presses relentlessly outside, but inside, you move with quiet precision. Almost every detail of daily life here falls to you before your master stirs. You grind emmer wheat into flour, your arms pressing stone querns until your shoulders throb. Dough forms under your fingers, and you stoke fires in clay ovens until coals glow red. Another of your companions carries a water jar balanced on her shoulder, drawn from the courtyard well, her arms straining against the weight. Once breakfast loaves emerge from the oven, you set to sweeping and scrubbing. Brooms of palm fronds sweep dust from floors so spotless that no grain of sand can mar them. You dust furniture inlaid with ivory and precious woods, using linen cloths until the surfaces gleam. Your plain linen kilt sets you apart from the glittering collars and fine garments of your masters. You wear no jewelry, only a shaven head and a sense of duty that weighs heavier than any gold ring. Throughout the morning, the overseer, an older servant chosen for his unwavering loyalty, inspects your work. He moves through the kitchen and storerooms, checking for correct measurements, proper oven temperature, and whether each basket of grain is neatly arranged. If you falter, his crisp words cut you. Why is the flour coarser than yesterday, or faster with the water? Your master waits. You keep your head bowed, cringe at each reprimand, and resolve to do better next time. By midday, preparations for the elite family's main meal unfold like a ritual. You roast meat and fish with onions, coriander, and lentils in clay pots, testing each dish for flavor. The brewery's battered vats bubble with fermenting barley, and you carefully pour fine beer into ceramic cups. Every dish is tasted and arranged precisely. Symmetry is honor, and any imperfection is shame. You and your colleagues serve behind your masters, ready to refill their cups, wipe their hands with clean linen, and whisk away any crumbs that dare to fall. When your household duties end, laborers beyond the mansion's walls take up the kingdom's mantle. In grand temples on the Nile's banks, you arrive before dawn to the scent of incense and the sound of priests chanting hymns. Your work here is as grueling as it is sacred. You scrub temple floors until your knuckles bleed, repair cracked mud brick walls before the next ritual, and haul water in clay jars for priests to use in daily ablutions. Statues of gods demand constant attention. You polish gold leaf surfaces with fine sand under the watchful gaze of temple overseers. One slip, a drop of oil on the tiles, a missed spot of dust on a statue can bring scorn and, at worst, punishment. In the open air, around pyramids and grand temples, conscripted laborers form lines as dawn breaks. You join them, shoulder to shoulder, hefting wooden sledges loaded with massive stone blocks. Each team chants as you pull, synchronizing breath and muscle, while others in front scatter water on the sand to reduce friction. Overseers with staves pace the lines, their eyes sharp for any sign of slackening. If you falter, if the chant falters, you feel their staff's sharp rap across your back, reminding you that the work never stops until the sun sets. Even after the day's labor, your duties do not end. You bathe tunics and loincloths in the river, scrubbing them against washing stones with lye made from natron salt, releasing clouds of grime into the current. Your hands ache, raw from sand, acid salt, and stone. At night, you and your fellow servants share stories as you sit on worn mats, recounting each moment of the day, one dropping a jar, another nearly slipping on a stone ramp. You whisper hopes for an easier task tomorrow, dreams of freedom, or at least enough food to keep your children from going hungry. In every corner of ancient Egypt, behind palace walls, in sprawling fields, at grand temples, and on monumental building sites, you, the servant or unfree laborer, sustain the kingdom. Your hands prepare feasts for nobles. Your sweat tends to fields that fill royal granaries. Your strength erects stone pillars that reach toward the heavens. And though your name may never grace a temple wall, your life echoes through every brick, every loaf of bread, and every drop of water offered in the temples. In your daily toil, you weave a legacy more enduring than gold, the heartbeat of an empire.